Welcome to Cycling Fashion Week, the only global podcast purely focused on cycling style, fashion, lifestyle, drip, fits that go hard. I'm trying to use the language of the kids here. I am your host, Alex, joined by my two co-hosts this week, Italian Alex and your regular Warren. Tony is not here this week. He just became a gravel dad. Tony has a newborn and he's out there taking care of the newborn. No time to podcast right now for Tony. So congratulations, Mazel Tov on Tony becoming a gravel dad. Warren and Italian Alex, how are you doing?
Good.
Doing pretty good. It's good to be back on the pod. And yeah, congrats to Tony. I know he's now unlocked those dad watts and he's joining us for some rides in the upcoming days. So I'm looking forward to see how that plays out. I know that there's those mythical dad watts that you unlock upon becoming a father, but he's the first person I've known through cycling that's actually become a father while I've known them. So I'm looking forward to seeing that transformation in real time.
It's been, it's good. Spring is back in Canada. It's actually quite warm right now. I went on a ride this weekend, gravel dad stuff, but there was still a bit of snow where I was riding, but it just felt good to be outside and feel the wind on my face.
As the two, I guess there's three non-parents, but the two non-dad hosts on Cycling Fashion Week, I just want to reassure that our listeners, this isn't becoming a gravel podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, Skylar also a non-mom, very, very fast road rider, so not becoming a gravel ride, even though Tony and I are now officially gravel dads.
I just don't want people to think we've been corrupted by Big Mountain Bike or anything.
So in terms of what's new and exciting, I have some news to share, and the followers of our Instagram account at Cycling Fashion Week may be familiar with this, as I posted a couple of stories about it a few weeks ago, but I dipped a toe into the world of iridescent shoes. I think our listeners may incorrectly, think that I am a white shoe, white sock purist, but I am anything but. In fact, I've been open about wanting to diversify away from white shoes and white socks, and I couldn't resist. I saw that a local shop here had a big sale on Supacaz iridescent shoes, and they had my size, and I just jumped on it, and they were something like 40% off, 45% off, and decided to go for the iridescent shoes. I've just been kind of mesmerized looking at them, like moving them around, seeing how they catch the light overall. I haven't ridden them yet because they're a road shoe, and I've been riding gravel so far this year, but I am very much looking forward to putting some cleats on them and trying them on for a road ride. Asked our listeners, what kind of socks do you wear with iridescent shoes? Honestly, I think you can wear a lot of things. I think you can wear white. I think you can wear black. You can wear pink. You can wear purple. That's the nature of iridescent. You can kind of wear anything with it. But anyway, I'm very excited to try them out. I'll probably post more photos on our Instagram feed.
Our listeners were definitely divided, I would say, in their reaction to them. But if you don't like them, you're wrong. Basically.
Yeah, you're wrong. It's iridescent is the future. It's the way forward.
I don't know if they're the future, but they're a nice alternative to white.
Of course, white is the go-to. It's kind of the base.
It's a staple.
Yeah, it's a staple. It's the basic of your cycling shoe wardrobe, but there's room for other stuff, and you need to, if you're a true cycling fashion aficionado, you need to diversify away from white a little bit, and why not iridescent?
I agree. But I know Italian Alex is pretty white socks only.
I'm pretty dogmatic on the white socks, white shoes combination. I like how it looks. And it's funny, when I see other people wearing shoes that are different colors or oil slick patterned or iridescent, I always think it looks cool. But when I try it myself, it's like a self-doubt thing. I just don't think it looks as good on me.
I will say I question how the iridescent shoes would go with your Bianchi. I think white shoes are quite clean.
Maybe that's why I kind of like subconsciously, because my bike is so brightly colored, opt towards more conventional colors in my kit, just because if I'm wearing a lot of fluorescent equipment and my bike is like the Celeste color, there's too much going on. It's too busy. And so I think that I got to compromise with white shoes.
I just think they look fast. I mean, Iridescent just looks fast. And we actually had a discussion in our WhatsApp group, Cycling Fashion Week, and Tony had the view that to wear iridescent shoes, you have to be fast. I mean, I'm definitely not fast, so if that's a rule, I'm breaking it, and I don't care. But
I think you have to be the fastest guy on the ride, and since you do a lot of riding on your own out in the country, I think it's okay.
I do a lot of riding on my own. It's just slow, but other than that, it's all good.
But you're the fastest guy on the ride, so
that's true. Yeah.
Quickly on the topic of some of our listeners being wrong, they'll also recall that I reviewed the Spotted Gum kit from Attaquer pretty recently, a couple episodes ago, and there was a very hot topic of debate. If you go to our Instagram, there's a reel on there with a picture of me in the kit, and it was honestly one of the biggest back and forths we've got. There was a lot of people liked it, and some people would just were like, think it's horribly ugly. And I just want to say, I wore it out in the world yesterday on a after work ride, and endless compliments. It looks, I'm trying to be objective, but it just looks really good. And I think you just need to see the kit in real life. I get you see it, it's got patterned bibs. You're a bit scared to try it out, but I thought it looked great.
I just think people hate fun. I mean, we're in this new Puritan age and people just hate fun. Like I think I need a bit of a social media break because I think I'm really over influencer culture here. I see these people on rides, group rides, and they are posting pictures of their group. Everybody looks the same. Everybody's got black bibs or navy bibs, earth color, solid color, block color jersey, white shoes, white socks, white helmet. Everybody just looks the same. They've got the name of a brand on their jersey. That's all they got. Everybody just looking like pawns out there, not really being original. And I don't know. I feel like the influencer culture is sort of reinforcing that. And I thought that the reaction to your Spotted Gum kit, Warren, was very aggressive. Actually, like some people really coming out of the woodwork, like aggressively hating it. And come on, it's a fun kit. And yeah, I think unfortunately the influencer culture reinforces the boringness of some kits out there.
And not to make it just about me, somebody who was on a ride yesterday, a local rider named Brandon, he was wearing a kit from the Spanish brand Tanline, who I think we've talked about very briefly. Tony's, I think, mentioned them up. They're a nice brand, with up and coming. And he had a kit, and the jersey was, I don't know, wild pattern. It was a fairly loud pattern, and it looked great. So yeah, just embrace the patterns. They're coming.
Shout out to Tanline, first of all. And then secondly, I have two thoughts on what you guys were saying. I think that, just to clap back at our haters, the picture that was posted, maybe it was just because it was like a quick mirror selfie fit pic. It wasn't like a well curated shot with the 35 millimeter camera in the Italian countryside that kind of did you a disservice in how the kit looked.
You think if he had posted it from Mallorca, people would have liked it?
People would be standing if we had a picture of Warren and that kid in Mallorca, for sure. What I was going to say, though, is when I saw it in person, it looked really cool. And it's a fun kit. I really liked it in person. I liked it in the product shoots, too. Like when Attaquer first dropped the promos, I thought it was awesome. Mm-hmm. I think it was just a case of a picture that didn't do the kit the justice that it deserved. And then thirdly, it's funny to see influencer culture creates a uniformity amongst cycling kit in recent years. In the cycling space, considering that when you step outside of that and look at, say, the actual fashion world or style world, where influencers are also omnipresent and it's rife with that shameless self-promotion, we're seeing the opposite play out, where people are trying to stand out as much as they can. So it's funny to see that juxtaposition of the cycling world, where everyone wants to look the exact same, and then the actual style world, where everyone looks insane and completely different.
Shout out to our haters. You guys, I love you guys. You guys are the fuel that keeps me going. You guys are the gas station junk food that gives me those last watts to just power through. I love the haters. They came out of the woodwork on the Spotted Gum kit. You guys are great. Okay, so for our first segment today, haven't done a podcast in a little while. The last one was our interview with Luft out of Los Angeles, which was a great interview. I was away on that podcast, but Skylar stepped in, did a great job. So we are going to get back to a more normal episode format, and we are going to talk about some of the releases in the world of cycling kit and cycling drip, cycling fits that have come out recently. I'm going to give you our preliminary thoughts as we haven't tried them out yet necessarily on certain kit that's come out. But let's start actually with something that came out last week. So we're recording this in early to mid-April, and this came out last week. So a new collection from our good friends over at Attaquer in Straya. They came out with a new collection called the Erosion Collection. Couple of interesting things from that collection. The one thing that stands out for me is the lime green bibs. So they're the race bib shorts. They're in acid lime. There's a bunch of other stuff. There's a jersey that's they call it the shale color. So it's kind of a blue gray-ish color, I guess. Different sleeve colors, but with pretty interesting patterns. So that was the Erosion collection from our good friends at Attaquer. For me, what really stood out was the acid lime bibs. I'm going to give you my take right away. I love the acid lime bibs. You want to get crazy out there. What's better than acid lime bibs? Look different. Don't wear the black bibs. And the one thing that stands out for me about the acid lime bibs is this has a very, for those people who follow pro cycling, Bardiani CSF vibe, like that Italian pro continental team that has always the most ridiculous colors like green and purple. Acid line bibs, they would wear that on a ride in northern Italy while maybe doping. I don't
I was
know.
going to say, is that the team that just got popped for EPO?
Yeah, they just got popped for doping. But this is what I like about it is it's so 1990s. The fluorescent is so 1990s that it brings us back to the good kind of doping days in cycling. Very nostalgic in a way. I'm not advocating doping. I'm very much anti-doping, but I am nostalgic for this vintage era, I guess neo-vintage era of cycling. And this brings us back there. It's wild. It's cool. And maybe you don't want to do white bibs. They're not going to age that well. So maybe acid lime bibs is the way to go. Love them. I really liked it.
These are beautiful. I love the acid line bibs. They're so cool. Touching on what French Alex said, yeah, got like a really big 90s look going for him. But I just think it's like a huge 180 from the consistently monotonous color schemes we're getting from the other major players in cycling kit. It's cool to see one of the big brands totally freak it with fluorescent kit. And it's done in a way where when it's paired with the jersey that it is released with, it is very in your face, but it's tastefully done. And I really want to get my hands on these. I think they're a polarizing look. I could see many people coming out to hate these like they did the Spotted Gum, but it's doing it for me. I think if with these coming out, it might be my turn on the Cycling Fashion Week Instagram account to catch some flack from our listeners.
For sure, the haters who declared holy war on the Spotted Gum are going to come out of the woodwork on these ones as well. Again, people hate fun. People are in this new Puritan age where they only want you to wear black bibs and never wear anything fun. But no, I implore you to accept fun.
First of all, Attaquer, I love you. You're great. You're probably my top brand. Not probably, they're my top brand right now in terms of like both aesthetics and performance of the kit I personally own. And I know I just kind of went on about how great the Spotted Gum kit was, and the jerseys in this collection are kind of similar because they've got like the patterned sleeves and the sort of block body. And I do like the fluorescent kind of zipper. That's a nice touch. Now, I just want to say something about these fluorescent lime bibs. French Alex was talking about...
I'm just Alex. The other one is Italian Alex. I'm the universal Alex.
Sorry, Universal Alex was talking about how it's like a 90s vibe. And I agree, but I'm a little worried that maybe somebody from Big Mountain Bike has infiltrated Attaquer on their design team and is like throwing these ideas of fluorescent colors into them. And right now, I don't think it's there, but I am a little worried that it's going to veer in that direction. We're going to start seeing like fully fluorescent kits that remind me more of like, you know, a World Cup downhill mountain bike race rather than an Italian team that does the EPO currently. That's kind of where I feel. And like, to be honest, I don't know if it's I don't have the courage or I don't have the panache or the lime bibs. I just don't think I'd wear them. If I were going to, I would need to pair them with one of these jerseys that has the lime green zipper as well, because I'm thinking of my entire kit collection. I don't know what. Maybe I just need to coordinate better. I don't know what I'd wear with them.
Yeah, that's actually, you brought up a good point there. I think that this is the kind of bib where you need to perfectly coordinate it with a matching jersey and pair of shorts. And because it's such a striking color, I think that context is everything when you're trying to wear this kit. This is not the coffee shop bib shorts that you're going to wear for your chill Sunday ride. These are your weeknight world champion Hammerfest bib shorts where you're going so fast people can't even tell you're wearing them. That's the night for these shorts.
Okay, quickly, we're going to cover another release that came out. So this is actually from a brand I've never tried, but have heard great things about the quality of the product, how the stuff fits. Apparently, it's very, very well made, and it certainly is priced that way. It's from a brand called Velocio, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're bought by SRAM recently. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so they're bought by our good friends at SRAM, and they came out with a new collection recently. Some interesting stuff. Now, the bulk of the collection is, you know, block colors, nothing overly exciting or innovative there, but they do have some kind of interesting things. So there's some red bibs, there's some green bibs. So already there, you're moving away from the black bibs. There's some merino in there, and the merino looks really nice. Actually, I haven't touched it again. We're just looking at the website, but it looks, I don't know, just looking at it, it looks like it's high quality. And again, judging from what I've heard from Velocio, I would trust that it is. And they came out with one jersey that I thought was particularly nice and interesting. It's an indigo dye jersey, sort of like a Japanese indigo, like this deep blue, royal blue color, but with some dye on it, which personally I've never seen. Now, Warren, I think you said you own a jersey that looks like that, but I've never personally seen that on a kit, so I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, that's new from Velocio brand owned by SRAM. Guys, what did you think about it?
Alex, just quickly to your point, I have a jersey that's somewhat similar to that. It's not quite as bold. I have a winter thermal jersey from Ornat that is actually hand dyed, and it's a sort of indigo color. It doesn't have the sort of streaky tie-dye look that this Velocio one does. And I think that's because the Velocio one isn't actually hand dyed, whereas the Ornat one is fully hand dyed. So, you know, it reminded me a little bit. Like, I think I appreciate the difference here of the Velocio one. It kind of, I don't know if I'd go for it because it kind of looks like a bit of a lightning bolt to me. But what I do like in this collection is the Line SE jersey, which they have in both men and women's. It's a couple different colors, black, a sort of like beige-ish, gray, and red. I really like that because it's just taking a solid color and just adding like a pretty inoffensive design element to it, and you could match it with solid bibs pretty easily. Like the solid color stuff is all, it's fine. I do want to say that they've got a colorway in their concept SE jersey, it might just be for women, that has these like block color body and then block sleeves, and Attaquer's been doing that for a while, so I just gotta give a shout out to Attaquer. Like, we're giving Attaquer a lot of praise this episode, but like that's just something I've seen from Attaquer, granted not many other brands, so I do like the look of it. And then they have some variations on some of the sort of thick line jerseys they've had over the years, which I don't mind. I don't like this like ultralight mesh jersey that kind of looks like plaid in motion. That is very ugly in my opinion. The ombre ultralight mesh thing, that's oof. That it's weird because they can have these pieces that are so nice, and then they have that, which to me is oof, just like really bad. And yeah, I as I've talked about before, I have a few pieces from Velocio, and they're great. They perform really well. I really want to try a pair of their bib shorts because I keep reading like really raving reviews about them, but they're so expensive. I just like can't bring myself to buy them. They're like $310 US, so that's like in the neighborhood of 400 Canadian, I think, which is it's just a bit too much for me to stomach for bibs, no matter how good they are. Yeah, I like the red bibs. That would probably let you do some fun stuff. The green too. It's not like the normal pine green. It's a bit different. So yeah, overall, I'd say this collection's worth a look.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Velocio. I've heard really good things about them. Never used the kit. I think they're also a bit of a brand with a conscience too. They seem to support a lot of charities and care about the environmental impact of what they do. So I'm Velocio curious. I would love to try some on. And if Velocio wants to come on the podcast, they're welcome anytime. Okay, next. This is going to be interesting, and I think that this is Italian Alex's time to shine as the local hype beast on the podcast. New York City based fashion brand Aime Leon Dore. So by the way, I just love, like, these guys are from Queens, or is it Brooklyn or Queens? I can't remember. Queens, New York, using like a fake French name. I just love it already. Aime Leon Dore released a knit cycling jersey, heavily vintage inspired. Now, this isn't your high performance like Q36.5 cycling jersey. This is a loose, like almost t-shirt or polo. And yeah, it's very, very vintage inspired. It's in fleece. So who would wear fleece for a cycling jersey? But basically, there are two jerseys. There's a black one with sort of a white band on the middle that says Aime Leon Dore. The Aime is in cursive, kind of, again, very vintage inspired, bit of a baseball type aesthetic, or very old cycling jersey type aesthetic. The other one is a light blue color. The band in the middle is white, but has smaller yellow bands. And literally all it says on it is Aime Leon Dore. They dropped that. What are the prices of these? I can't see the prices on the website. Did you guys figure that out? Sold out. So there you go.
I don't know.
There's so much to say about this. I have a lot of takes, but maybe I'll let you guys start.
I want to hear Italian Alex because, yeah, I want to hear him first.
So first of all, Italian Alex, do you own any Aime Leon Dore in your non-cycling wardrobe?
Great question. I actually don't. And the reason for that is because, and this is a very personal opinion, I just find that with ALD, when I see the pieces, I feel like I could only wear them correctly if I bought the whole outfit that the models were wearing in the lookbooks. It's just like the whole brand's aesthetic is just 80s and 90s polo or prep inspired pieces that have like a bit of a streetwear vibe to them. So they'll put on like prep vintage styled items and then like a snapback. And
Ivy style with more of a streetwear look,
yeah,
I guess is how I would describe it. Yeah. So it's basically Drake's, but a little younger, a little cooler, kind of. Like I'm a big Drake's guy. I wear a lot of Drake's, but Aime Leon Dore is like me and Drake's, but 10 years younger.
Yeah, I think that's like a pretty apt description. And like, again, the individual pieces, if we're talking like not on the cycling jersey, but just speaking to the brand itself, when I see them, I like them, but I could never buy it because I'd have to buy the pants and the jacket and the hat, and it would bankrupt me too fast.
I don't know what these retailed for originally, but I just did a quick Google, and they're currently selling on StockX for almost $1,700 Canadian for just the jersey.
Okay, so clearly there's got to be a premium over MSRP here as a result of product scarcity.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting cultural phenomenon. I mean, since the pandemic, the age of abundance that we were living in the 2010s and 2000s has kind of gone away, and now there's scarcity of various goods and products, and Aime Leon Dore is kind of playing to this. Now, question I have for you guys: who is going to wear this? I don't think it's a cyclist. I don't think this is marketed at cyclists. This is marketed at hype beasts who just want Aime Leon Dore something, and it happens to be a cycling jersey.
when they released it, they released like a video of a fixie rider riding through New York wearing it. And putting aside who might buy it, I just want to say something, which is we have to give a shout out to Rafa here, because the black design of this jersey I want to say a straight rip off of some of the vintage jerseys that Rafa has put out over the years. And, you know, somebody might say, well, those Rafa jerseys were just straight lifts.
Like the Swiss one that we commented, except that was actually more adapted for cycling. It was a little bit tighter.
It was designed to actually be worn to cycle. And like, to me, this is just taking that aesthetic and that look and changing very little of it, and then just putting the ALD brand name on it. Like, it's unfortunate Tony's not here because he's got the the knowledge of both worlds. But like, I saw that and I'm just like, that just looks like it's one of those vintage inspired Rafa jerseys they put out. And we talk about it all the time. Rafa has a long history in revolutionizing like cycling aesthetics, and I don't know, to me this just feels Rafa's getting a bit of a raw deal here.
This is a very, very strong take, Warren. Like, Aime Dore is basically ripping Rafa culture, bringing it into the streetwear world and charging $2,000 for it. By the way, I love these memes on Twitter or social media that post like photos from the 90s, and the memes usually say Aime Leon Dore posts pics like that, and the fit is $3,000. This is really it's going in that direction.
I got a hunch for who's going to be like their target, who's buying these either at MSRP from the site or is buying them flipped on like a StockX or like a Grailed. It's got to be a fixie rider, and it's got to be the contingent of fixie riders that are definitely streetwear adjacent. Mm-hmm. There's a contingency of fixie culture of them that are the type to like line up overnight for sneakers. It's that cohort of rider that's going to be forking out a full paycheck for one of these jerseys for sure.
I'm a bit out of the loop on this, but are fixies still cool? Like, I thought it was cool 10 years ago or 15 years ago. It can't still be cool.
I don't know if they're cool, but I feel like I'm seeing more the last like 2 years.
What do you guys think is worse, fixie culture or mountain bike culture?
Oh, fixie culture. But to answer the question though, I think fixie culture is like down and out. But I think the new meta for like inner city trendy bikes has got to be like the 90s mountain bike rework, where they'll get like the stump jumper and then put a bunch of modern components on it and racks and panniers and everything.
Alex, you've seen mine, right?
Yes. And I think that's not like an equivalency of a fixie, but I definitely see more of a frequency of that type of bike in the city now.
But the coolness of, so I have a specialized hard rock in purple, pink, and yellow. It's mint, and it has the matching fenders with like splatter paint on them. It's quite a thing to see. Maybe I'll post it on our Instagram at Cycling Fashion Week. But I guess what ruins the coolness of my 1990s mountain bike commuter is the baby seat in the back. I think people would not say that that's cool.
No, that's sick. I love that. It's genuine in a world, in the cycling style world, which is very deceitful and not always straightforward. It's nice to see something of an accessory that's so genuine.
So actually, maybe I need the Aime Leon Dore jersey to go with it. We always talk about how commuter bikes should be practical, right? Like, this podcast has taken a stance against riding your road bike and kit to commute. So like, I've got a 40-pound Dutch bike with a front basket as my commuter and built-in fenders, a dynamo hub. Like, it's extremely practical. I wouldn't say it's cool. It's very slow. It's so heavy. So baby seat, that's practical. That's what a commuter should be.
Hell yeah.
So what's cool in the commuter world is practical things. What's cool in the actual cycling world is certainly not an Aime Leon Dore jersey. But anyway, I find that interesting. It's like cycling culture is creeping into the broader fashion world. And yeah, I'm looking for it. I don't think I'll ever see someone wear this, because I think they only dropped like 15 of those jerseys, given the prices at which they go on the gray market. But I would love to cross someone on the street wearing one just to see what the profile of that person is.
Hey, what are you doing? I don't know, I'm just fucking tossing bikes in the river, bro.
Okay, for our next segment, it's the return of Into the Canal, the segment where we throw something that we don't like from the world of cycling or cycling fashion into Montreal's Lachine Canal. We haven't done it in a little while, I think, but we're back and we're switching things up here a little bit. We asked our listeners, our astute listeners, to tell us what they would throw into the canal. I mean, we have an endless supply of canal items, but our listeners also do. And people definitely sent us some good stuff to throw into the canal. So today, Warren, Italian Alex, and I are going to do our own canals, but we're also going to read some of our listener submissions, but also listen to some of our listener submissions because we did receive some voice messages of items that should be thrown into the canal. And why don't we start with the first one and let's play it.
This was submitted to us from a listener named Evan Tobenfeld, who he's gotten our DMs before, but he actually emailed us a little clip. I believe he's based in LA, and yeah, we appreciate his enthusiasm for the podcast. We also appreciate the voice note which he sent. So here it is.
Okay, this is a hot take, but I want to throw beer in the canal. All of it. It's a trash beverage. It's not good for you. It tastes like shit. And the next time you go on an epic ride or you complete one of those long gravel races, do what I do and get yourself a bottle of champagne. And you will be changed forever.
Italian Alex's reaction to that was pretty good.
Man, like, I get like I think Tony
hates craft beer.
No, Tony only hates craft beer. He likes Bud Light.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you were speaking specifically about craft beers that are really heavy and hard to drink, I think there's a point to be made there. But beer is like such a generic drink that comprises so many different tastes and styles that it's hard to throw the whole thing into the canal. It's too broad of a drink to just dismiss entirely. And frankly, I love a post-ride crispy boy. Like, it's just I don't know. It's like canaling water. I think it's just too omnipresent to take an opinion on one way or the other.
I'm going to recuse myself since I don't drink anymore.
I liked his conclusion though, champagne. I mean, nothing wrong with champagne. I like that conclusion. I'm not ready to canal beer. I'll certainly canal the triple IPAs and the double IPAs and the heavy stuff that's undrinkable. But I think I have no value to add here. I'm with Italian Alex. I think Italian Alex has the correct take. I don't think beer is a trash beverage. I think it's a good beverage if you enjoy it responsibly.
One thing I will say is, I appreciate the idea if you do like a really, really hard ride, like I'm talking like 300 plus kilometer road ride or some epic race or something, popping a bottle of champagne is kind of funny. So I'll back that part. I mean, I used to drink beer and I used to like it. So sorry, Evan.
But champagne after a 35 kilometer casual ride, though, I don't think
I wouldn't drink a beer after that either.
Yeah, I don't think you've deserved your champagne there.
No.
Warren, we did yesterday.
Well, I didn't. You did.
I know, but we did. People do that. Like, we did.
I know people do. I'm saying I wouldn't have done that. Well, I probably
no, but you just don't drink alcohol. Is that why? Or you mean like even if you
I just don't drink it. No, I would have done that when I still drank.
Yeah, okay. Then that's such a false argument. I mean, you can have a beer after a short ride. I think people.
Oh yes, but champagne though, special occasions. I don't know if the 35K ride cuts it.
No, that's crazy.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the next canal submission that we got. This one is a written one. Warren, do you want to read it?
Yeah, so this one's fairly topical as we're recording this a few days after Paris-Roubaix happened. We had a Canadian actually win the women's race, Alison Jackson, and then the men's race was obviously won by Van der Poel. We're not a racing podcast, so we won't go into all the details, but this is pretty hot take. But so they wrote, sizzling hot take, maybe too hot. The shower after Paris-Roubaix is insanely canaled. Amazing race, followed up by bringing a camera into a post-communist concrete mold shower of doom. No bueno. Putting up a gold winner placket on the shower doesn't help alleviate the already dreary vibes. We all want to see half-naked Vanderpool and maybe a glimpse of the Dutch buns of steel, but can we do it not in a Chernobyl post-radiation shower that most assuredly smells like heavy pickles? Please, France, please. I agree.
Who was this from, Warren?
This was a second canal from an Instagram user named Delayed Wave, who we actually have already done a canal by, but they just keep sending good canals. So
that's an incredible. That's like the holy. That's the holy mother of hot takes.
You know why I would add that I agree? This year, when Vanderpool took the shower, it was a fucking Alpecin product placement. He had the bottle of Alpecin there, and he, brushed it in his hair. He has got nice hair, but and listen, I don't blame them. That makes perfect sense. You got a shampoo title sponsor, you should be using in the shower. But yeah, I've always found it kind of weird to always see the shower photos, and they had it with the women's race, which I'm sure, a lot of women were probably happy about because it's the same ceremony as after the men's race. But I wouldn't want somebody taking a photo of me having a shower, especially after when I probably smell awful.
I know those showers smell crazy, and it has nothing to do with the bike racers. They're just so fucking old.
Yeah.
There's no way they don't stink. I look at those pictures and I smell the shower stalls that they have at the beach. Do you know that smell? You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
I get that in my nose when I look at those pictures. Not that I have an opinion on the post-ride or post-race, ritual of taking the shower, but you can't not agree that room must stink.
What do you think the odds are that after they take the shower in those showers, they get back on the team bus and take another shower? Because those showers probably suck.
Oh, most certainly.
Yeah, I've always found it weird to take the photos of the riders while they're showering.
Do we think they have their bibs on or a bathing suit?
I don't know,
but
I guess the little wall that hides their body just isn't that high, So what are the journalists doing there? It's kind of creepy.
It's a little voyeuristic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know that even in hockey or football or baseball, there's interviews in the locker room after, but I don't know. It's just weird.
You know what? Taking a shower in those showers is probably not unlike if you actually jumped in the Lachine Canal. The water quality.
The water is straight from the canal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be about as clean as if you had taken a bath in the canal. Okay, so keep sending us your canal submissions. I mean, the ones from this week, they were hot. Some very hot takes from our listeners, so appreciate it. Send them. I think DM on Instagram is maybe the best way to do it, at Cycling Fashion Week, or you can email them at cyclingfashionweek@gmail.com. So guys, I've got 2 canals this week. Maybe I'll start with one and come back later. How's that work?
Sure.
My first canal this week is my good friend Lance Armstrong. I've been a listener of the Move podcast for a little while. Love the race analysis. Love the banter. You cannot do 6 minutes of ads at the beginning of a podcast. This is a huge disrespect to your listeners. I know you got to do business. I know you got to pay the bills to keep the lights on, but 6 minutes of ads at the beginning of a podcast, just take it from the master, myself. When we had a sponsor on this podcast, I was done in about 45 seconds for one sponsor. But these guys, they're going on with, well, let's do a bit of business here. And then they talk about one sponsor, that's 1 minute. Then you talk about some supplement company, that's another minute. Then they talk about some revolutionary machine that'll increase your longevity and your watts, that's another minute. Then they've got another weird supplement that might have an effect on your health or not, that's another minute. And I think it's probably all companies that Lance's venture capital firm invests in. So I guess he wants to keep doing it. But just pro tip, people scroll. They scroll 15 seconds until you're about done. So they're not going to listen to it. So the more ads you put, the less people listen. I think the best model is like us. Free podcast, no revenue, no ads, just pure content, pure hot takes. That's the way to go.
A few things. One, I think most people, any regular listeners of that show, which I'm not, I occasionally check it out just out of pure curiosity. They probably just skip ahead 5 minutes every episode because it's the same deal, and they're talking about how great their Ventum bikes are, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing is, I know they have paying members, and they also have like a pre-show that only paying members get access to, which that I actually understand. Like, people are going to straight up give you money, give them content nobody else's get. That makes sense. And then hopefully they don't. I wonder if the pre-show also has 5 minutes of ads. That would be hilarious. And then the last thing is, I don't know if you want to be taking supplement advice from Lance Armstrong. Like, yeah, he probably knows how to be, he knows how to be the fastest on the bike. We all know that. But I was on vacation last week, and I started reading the book, The Secret Race, which is by Tyler Hamilton and a ghost
pretty good book.
Yeah. I've never read it before. Anyway, and I'm just getting to the end of the bit of his postal days riding with Lance, and like, man, Lance will put anything in his body if he thinks it'll like make him better than anybody else. And I don't think because he's not a pro anymore that's gone away. Like, he's a maniac. He's pushing ketones. I'm still very skeptical on ketones, even though most of the influencers now are pushing them. I hear they taste like battery acid. Like, I would be very skeptical of anything being pushed by Lance Armstrong personally. Like, yeah.
The only performance enhancing drug that Italian Alex and I endorse is pasta. So I have another Canal, but I'll come back with it a little bit later. What do you guys got?
My Canal is a little unfair because it's kind of like I'm throwing Tony at the Canal and he's not here to defend himself. But I'm going to Canal what I'm going to call thermometer watching before a group ride. And what I mean by that is, it might be more for places that have more seasons, less LA where it's just a variation on like warm or too hot all the time. But in Toronto, and I assume cities in similar climates, as we're easing into spring, we often have like, it's a bit cooler in the morning. It's a lot nicer in the afternoons. And right now in April, we're having this unusual warm, like hot stretch for April where it's like 10, 12 degrees around 6, 7 a.m. when you might do a morning ride, but it's like 20 or even 25 degrees when you do an afternoon ride. And people are talking about, we're back into group ride season. People are organizing rides. And some people they look at the thermometer and are like, oh, yeah, it's going to be 12 degrees at 6 a.m., but it's going to be 25 degrees at 6 p.m. And I don't know. My opinion is just ride like, yeah, it might be a bit chilly at 6 a.m., but 12 degrees, especially by Canadian standards, cycling, that's warm. You don't need leg warmers. You can throw a vest on, maybe some arm warmers. You probably won't need the vest by the end of the ride. Like, we have all this cool and cold weather kit. That's what it's for. It's for the transition seasons. Like, cycling jerseys are designed to carry layers. Like, it's the whole point. So listen, I get the enjoyability of riding in 25 degrees after work, but the traffic's worse. It's generally busier on routes you want to ride or do laps. I'm still just ride in the morning, ride in the afternoon, but don't make it all about what the temperature is and like tracking every degree. Like, Tony specifically will like want to push a ride start from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the weekends because it's going to be a degree warmer. You know what I mean? Like, just ride. Like, don't worry about the extra couple of degrees. That's in the Canal.
Yeah. First of all, you're going to heat up when you're riding. So yeah, you're always going to be dressing lighter on a bike than you would when you're just walking around town. Secondly, if it's above, I'm going to put the limit at like the freezing point. So about like 0 for Celsius. I think that's like 33 or 32 at Fahrenheit. Anything above that is fair game for riding, and you should just kind of suck it up and deal with it. And on the matter, anything above 10 degrees Celsius, which is about, it's 50. Anything above 50 is shorts weather. You don't need tights. You don't really need leg warmers. If it's above 10, you're game for shorts.
Yeah, Tony always talks about how much he loves knee warmers too. Like, that would be perfect knee warmer, but he's like, no, I want to wait until it's 25 degrees at 6 p.m. and do 3 laps and go home because he has a kid. It's not just him. Other people do it. It's I don't know, at least in my circle of people I know riding, so I assume it must happen elsewhere. And
Tony's soft, and becoming a dad isn't going to change any of that. It's only going to make it worse. Italian Alex, what do you got in the Canal?
And this one actually just came to me while we were recording the podcast because circumstantially, as Warren knows, while we were recording, the B-Reel dropped. And so both of us posted silently without making mention of it. Which brings me to what I want to throw into the canal. And this is a bit of a Gen Z Zoomer specific phenomenon. So some of our less technologically plugged in listeners or older listeners perhaps even might not be familiar with this occurrence. But today I'm going to canal holding off on posting your B-Reel until you're on a group ride to artificially depict how your life is going on. So for people who don't know what B-Reel is, it's an app that's kind of picked up amongst younger people where everyone posts once a day at the same time, or you're supposed to, and the time of day when everyone posts is randomly generated. So one day it could be 8 p.m., one day it could be 8 a.m., the next day it could be lunchtime. And so basically you get a notification, it's time to post your B-Reel, and you take a picture of whatever you're doing. And it's supposed to be a change from the insanely curated world of Instagram, and just show your more mundane life. But people do deliberately post late and do so in order to post things that they're doing that are more exciting. So maybe it'll drop when they're at work and they wait until they're doing something fun to take the picture. People have taken advantage of this to wait until they're on the group ride to post their picture. And I think that kind of deviates away from the nature of the app and is just making a very dishonest depiction of your life. When the B-Reel drops, just be yourself, post that picture of whatever you're doing.
Just very quickly, since we've already done a canal, but I said I had 2 canals this week. My last canal, it's been the classic season in pro cycling, the best season in my opinion. I really enjoy watching the classics. And one rider who's been on fire in this classic season has been the Dutch rider, Mathieu van der Poel. I'm going to canal him because despite his very strong classic season, I think his socks are too high for, first of all, aesthetics. He's wearing socks. Yes. So we've talked about sock height a number of times on this podcast. It's not quite mid-calf. It's mid-calf. It's just a little bit below mid-calf. And look at the videos from his classics campaign. His are solidly mid-calf. I need the UCI in there to start measuring his socks. They look far too high, and I want his wins all stripped away from his palmarès because I'm sure that gave him an unfair advantage.
I disagree. I'd say, especially with he's already an incredibly talented rider, but with the season, the classic season he's having, or has had, because I don't think he's going to ride anymore. It's sort of like our variation of like when you're the by far the fastest person on the group ride, you can do whatever you want, and that's what he's doing right now, in my opinion. And yeah, no, I absolved him.
Okay, next segment, we rate your bike for free. So this is a listener submitted bike. They've sent us pictures of their bikes on our Instagram at cyclingfashionweek as a DM and asking us to rate their bike, give us options to improve the looks, constructive criticism. This is what we do here. This is the service that we provide on We Rate Your Bike for Free. So the message comes to us from a listener. His Instagram handle is at LF_AT. So pretty cryptic there. He says, can you please rate my bike based on its superior cranks? What is this bike? Okay, this is going to be very interesting. The bike brand is Cherubim. I believe it is a Japanese small frame maker. Maybe Warren can tell us more about the brand, but I'll just describe the bike very quickly. So this is a glossy navy bike. The color is a glossy navy. The logo Cherubim, I think that's the case for all of the bikes. It's sort of a yellow and red logo written in capital lettering, italics. This is a small steel tube frame with a very classic geometry. The top tube is level with the ground. It doesn't have drop seat stays. It has sort of this perfect triangle in the back. Everything is just perfectly aligned, perfectly symmetrical. So it actually looks a lot like a Marinoni that Tony or I would ride. So I guess you can guess what grade I'll give this bike. It's got so he says the superior crank. This looks like the Attaquer crank from maybe 8 years ago or 7 years ago, when the crank wasn't full. It was pretty sort of empty. There were 2 rings and some lines, and there are people who used to ride bikes 7 or 8 years ago would know what I'm talking about. So look up the Attaquer cranks from about a decade ago. It doesn't look like it has. So I think the group set on this bike looks old, to be honest with you. I think it looks like an Attaquer from, like I said, maybe 8 years ago. It's got rim brakes, so pretty clean looking rim brakes. Is the stem slammed? Yeah, I guess you could say it's slammed. It's not aggressively slammed, but it's slammed. I don't see a spacer in there.
It's slammed.
Yeah, I mean, it's slammed. It's not like ridiculously slammed, but it's slammed. And one more comment I was gonna give. So the wheel set on this bike is sort of a mid-depth carbon wheel. I'm going to say maybe a 35 millimeter depth. And what's interesting about this wheel set is the spoke shape or geometry isn't the same on the back wheel than on the front wheel. So on the front wheel is this classic sort of regular spokes, looking a bit like the sun, I guess, the rays of the sun going from the center to the rim. But on the back wheel, you've got 3 spokes bunched together, then a big space, then 3 spokes. So looking a little bit like an asterisk or a star. So just wanted to bring up that the spoke shape was not the same on the back wheel as on the front wheel. That's about all I got in describing this bike. Maybe Warren, you can enlighten us a little bit about this brand, Cherubim.
Sure. I won't claim to be an expert on the brand, but I do know it because a shop in Toronto where Tony and I got our bikes, Blacksmith, they carry this brand. So I've known about them for a while, but they're actually a Japanese brand based in Tokyo that's been around since 1965, actually, and was founded by Hitoshi Kono. I'm probably mispronouncing your name. I apologize. He then ran it with his brothers, and now his son, Shin Ishii, runs it. And I think they've got a pretty storied history. They supplied the frames to the Japanese national team in the 1968 Olympic Games. I think, Alex, you might have forgotten to mention this is either, I think it's steel, it could be titanium, but they make steel and titanium.
It looks like steel, and also it's painted in a glossy color. Like I think titanium, you wouldn't necessarily paint it that way, but it looks like steel.
Yeah, that's kind of their deal. And I think they're kind of like the preeminent custom brand in Japan, and they probably have a decent following of dedicated people. Like, I would love to have one of these bikes. I haven't even asked what the cost is at Blacksmith because it's probably more than I can afford.
Well, actually, Warren, it's on their website. So the Cherubim frame. So they have a model called the Puma, which is very funny because the Marinoni basic steel bike is also called the Puma. So you can get the Puma disc. So this one was a rim brake, but you can get the disc. The frame set price, if you get the Cherubim fork along with it, comes in at $3,700 Canadian. So actually quite reasonable. Given, yeah, so it's very reasonable. So honestly, this seems like the Japanese Marinoni.
I would say so. And like, now I'll just go to my opinion on the bike itself. One thing I want to say is about the group set. I don't know my group sets very well at all, but those hoods actually look like campy to me. Am I crazy? Or is it just really old Attaquer? Because the wheels are campy.
Yeah, so he didn't give us much information on the components of the bike. I just find the crankset looks like old Attaquer personally, because I own some old Attaquer and it looks exactly like that.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know, Italian Alex, I bet you're a Campagnolo fan. What can you tell us about this?
I can't tell what it is just because it's not a super record crank. So usually I go by like the chainring and crank to kind of get a base understanding of what a group set is, but because it looks like it's a custom.
The other reason why I'm going to say I think this is an old group set is because it doesn't have a long cage derailleur. I noticed that most of the new group sets that are getting
it's
sold,
definitely old, yeah.
Yeah, usually have a long cage derailleur, and this doesn't, the back derailleur. So I'm guessing that, anyway, my best guess is this is Ultegra from 7 or 8 years ago.
To be honest, I don't really care. It looks amazing. Like, I don't think I've ever given a 10 out of 10 on Rape Bike, but I'm doing it for this bike. And I know, Alex, you compared it to your Marinonis, and I would agree to a degree, but the fact that it's more unique in Canada.
Oh, for sure. You see a lot more Marinoni on the road than you would Cherubim. Yeah.
And Marinonis are beautiful bikes, but that unique factor of just the kind of just scarcity of this brand in Canada really adds to it. But, you know, I'll just quickly do the reasons why. One, it's steel. Two, the stem is slammed, and the stem is also almost parallel to the perfectly parallel top tube. It's got rim brakes, which we all know are aesthetically pleasing. The wheels are a nice depth. The group set looks great. Like, the crank looks really great. Even though this is steel, I would wager that this bike is quite light. This is, when I think about a custom steel bike, like, this is exactly what I would want. It's an external headset, so the cables are out because, you know, I've said before, I'm not a fan of integrated headsets. If I had to nitpick one thing, I would say the bottle cages could maybe be something different. I would probably put the Arundel steel ones on there, but you know what? I don't care.
You stealing my thunder, Warren. That was my only recommendation. Put the Arundel stainless steel cages on this. That's a 13 out of 10 for me. This is perfection. I mean, perfection is not of this world, but I mean, the brand name here is Cherubim, which is derived from Hebrew Cherubim, which is the one who blesses, which is an unearthly being who is descended from the sky with wings. This is basically what it is. It's steel, it's Japanese, it's bespoke, it's everything I like, it's elite, it's glossy. This is a 13 out of 10 for me. Old group set, do I care? Not really. I do agree that the old Ultegra crank looked a lot better than the new Ultegra crank. I would love someone from Shimano to come on the podcast, explain how they made the cranks look uglier and uglier over the years. This is a 13 out of 10. So at LF_AT, that's his name, I think. Yeah, this is very, very well done. It's also slammed. You're a 13 out of 10.
I mean, what more can I say? I mean, we just had Universal Alex speaking poetry on the podcast in his assessment of this bike. And that's what this bike is. It's poetry. It's like the perfect bike. I have nothing more to contribute. I think that we've already kind of perfectly encapsulated what this bike's about. And so I got to leave it with a 10 as well. I have nothing to complain about or to call out. It's just a perfectly good, aesthetically pleasing bike.
I don't think there's been a bike yet submitted, including the ones we haven't talked about, where I've been like, you know what, I'd rather ride that than my own bike that I have. But this is that. Like, that makes me have the N+1 feeling, whereas most bikes don't do that.
13 out of 10 for our friend at LFAT. Okay, that's it for us this week at Cycling Fashion Week, the rulers of cycling fits. We have dropped takes this week. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with more takes on the wonderful world of cycling fashion. Thank you, Warren. Thank you, Italian Alex. Congratulations again to the newest gravel dad, Tony, who has joined the world of the gravel paternity. He'll be back in a little while. He'll be back wiser. We'll be back with more Cycling Fashion Week. Keep sending us your bikes and send us your hot takes on what should go into the Canal or what you want to give a Camillien to. You can drop us a DM at Cycling Fashion Week on Instagram. That's the best way to do it. And I will post my iridescent shoes when I wear them on a ride soon. You guys will probably roast them because you hate fun and you hate things that look different, but I will post them regardless. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Thank you for listening. We hate you.